What's up, everybody? It's your girl, the Cyn Show, and yes, I am back with another episode. Ho, I know. Trust me, there's just so much goings on. There's so much shit going on. But what is happening, at least in my city today, it is 10 degrees out here, okay? The snow has melted. The white Christmas is over, baby, okay? And I'm sure everybody else's motherfucking money is gone too. I'm sorry they got you, boo. I'm sorry. Anyway, like I said, it's currently 9 degrees, mainly cloudy around this kind of parts. Luckily, I was able to kind of get outside and I had that sunshine. Got to get that vitamin D. If you're not getting the other vitamin D, you still got to go outside. You feel me? Thanks, guys. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go there, but y'all know now that those of you who have watched these videos, I think you might have an understanding of where my mind goes at times. I swear to God, it's not like I always intend to go there. I just don't know why it goes there. Anyways, guys, how is everybody doing on this beautiful day? Today is Saturday as I am recording this, and I can see that y'all are really enjoying the content. You're welcome. Although I have to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of you guys who are catching the vibes and connecting the dots with me. Let's do this shit together until we exit stage left out of 20. Oh my God, out of 2024. What the hell's going on today? Out of 2024. We got how many more days left? 28, 29, 30, 31, 4 days. 4 days. 4 days until 2025. And guys, um, yeah, when I tell you, don't start with me, child. When I tell you, when I tell you, sorry, that shit's hitting the fan. Shit's hitting the fan. What do we now have? And I'm gonna have to go back to that my whiteboard and kind of maybe like add a couple more things to the predictions list, okay? But we've got more situations coming out, more tea coming out about Luigi Mangione. We've got the portals that have been opened, and I have kind of tied something together because you know my mind, I'm always connecting the dots, baby. Virgos are very analytical. Give us time and we will figure the whole world out, okay? Um, we have also got the drone situation. Is it drones? Is it angels? Is it aliens? Is it Enoch coming back? Like who, what, and where? You feel me? Is also coming down the pipeline. Look out for that video compilation that I'm putting together because it's a lot. And then we kind of have to get back to our PM or could be lack thereof anytime soon. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Sometimes I just forget. I keep calling him JT. PMJT. I ain't talking about Justin Timberlake, baby. I'm talking about the other Justin. Okay? Okay. Now, in today's video, I'm always scratching my gosh darn nose. Gosh darn it. In this video, guys, we are talking about oligarchy. Why is that important? Because at a time in this reality when war is at an all-time high, I hate to say it, somebody out here is funding this ish. I'm just saying, I don't really want to say it, but I guess I just did. And you know, at the end of the day, somebody out here want to win. Okay. And sometimes it makes me think about maybe it's the person that has the most money. Okay. But one thing I do know, I said to myself, I said, hold up, wait a minute, let me put some thought up in it. Throat chakra's getting tickled. I said, let me put some thought up in it. How can we find sovereignty in a world of oligarchy? Mm? How can we, the people, the working people, the lower class people, the upper class, well, not the upper class, because I think y'all know it's fine. But I'm saying, how can we find sovereignty in a land full of oligarchy? It's all over the place. And so I had put together this video compilation. I pray to God I get the shit right this time. I put together this video compilation for us to react to because, child, I said to myself, me no likey. Me no likey because child, what like I said, education is everything. Sharing is caring. And at the end of the day, it's what we need to do. And so I, my friends, am really wanting to kind of give you this tea because child, it's necessary. you know, as the people them say, as my people say, it's necessary. Okay, it's necessary for us to know what we have, we can take, put it in our back pocket, so we can figure the gosh darn world that we live in out. Because, honey, freedom is everything. Financial freedom, if you can get it, especially at a time like this, is everything. So let's get ourselves a little bit educated. Go out there, get your drinks, your tea, your popcorn, get whatever the hell you need so that you can vibe with me into this. Let's react to this ish together. Let's have a key in the comment section about this shit, and let's have a whole situation figured out by the end of the goddamn video. Okay. Hopefully. Let's see what the hell happens here.
People are regaining their consciousness, sir, and they're starting to come together. What do we do?
Tell them that immigrants are the reason they're all poor.
Who could possibly believe that, sir? Besides, immigrants aren't actually keeping anybody poor.
It doesn't matter. Give them something to hate. Give them something to put all of their energy and focus
so
on.
they can keep being distracted from who's really keeping the poor, which is the rich people.
Absolutely.
Are you a genius? But sir, what if they actually come together and put their differences aside and take you down?
Do you think they have the audacity to come together and see that their differences are also their similarities? That would never happen.
Sir, you're a genius! But sir, how do we convince them that we're their allies in the first place and getting their truth?
We need to relate to them. We need to tell them, I understand your pain while never doing anything about it.
That way they'll be too busy fighting to come for us.
Right on the money.
But sir, don't you think this is a bit manipulative? It didn't do anything to us.
Do you know how many jobs we create for them?
Yes, sir, but we paid them the bare minimum. We reap billions off of their
We're still putting money in their pocket.
But sir, most people are still living check to check and can't even afford basic food and necessities for day-to-day life. It's not enough.
That sounds like a personal problem.
You're absolutely right, sir. Forgive my ignorance. But sir, what about people who want to go to college but they can't because we allow people to pay for their kids to get in?
Blame it on black people.
Sir, you're a genius. What are we doing about the male loneliness epidemic, sir?
Blame it on women.
Sir, you're a genius. Sir, what about the ones who realize we're keeping them
Blame it on other poor people.
Sir, you're a genius. Does that mean we don't care about the livelihood of other people? Should we have?
We're going to continue to make our money. My family's good. That's all I care about.
True gentleman.
Now let them keep on making my family good while I live my life.
So the only reason you can live your life is based off of other people's struggle. Should we at least give them a raise?
No.
But promotion.
Do away with that. We don't need that anymore.
So what about people that get inspired by Luigi Mangione? The court is still deciding what we should do with him. What should we do?
Yeah, lock him up. Lock him up. No, because he attacked one of us.
But sir,
if he attacked one of them, we wouldn't have cared.
Sir,
he attacked one of us. We're not gonna have.
Got it, sir. The courts are officially gonna try him for the death penalty. So you're a genius.
Was a slave. Everyone.
Well, not everyone was a slave.
No, everyone was a slave.
Okay.
We are all descended from slaves. It's just a question of when. Was it more recent or less recent? That's it.
That doesn't mean a lot to a whole lot of people who aren't able to take advantage of the opportunities that you were able to take advantage of, simply because the color of your skin.
What advantage does the color of my skin give me?
There's an ease that you have in society that many people of color don't.
As if he's forgetting he has white privilege because he was born in South Africa and that makes him an Afrikaan, but nigga, I Afrikaant. If you can't see it, and then if we can't track it. Oh!
There's a legacy of racism that still continues on in this country.
If we keep talking about it nonstop, it will never go away. If we keep making it the central thing, it will never go away.
Why do you believe that?
I think we want to get away from making everything a race or a gender or whatever issue and just treat people like individuals.
So Elon Musk said that he wants to build a company town. That sounds like my own personal hell, actually. I don't think y'all actually know what company towns are, but let me just educate y'all. It's a town completely owned by a corporation, and that includes the grocery stores, that includes the parks, that includes the houses. So everything is owned by Elon Musk or whatever company is gonna be, Tesla or whatever. And you're gonna live in that little company town, and you're gonna drive to the Tesla factory, and you're gonna work at the Tesla factory, and then you're gonna go to the Elon Musk grocery store and go back to your Tesla house. Then that's not a good thing. This is basically turning you into a worker bee. This is like the bee movie for humans.
Ooh.
So imagine your day-to-day life and your survival all dependent upon Elon Musk. Doesn't sound too good, does it?
Are you dead ass? It's almost kind of giving the Truman Show in a way. Or was it, there was a movie, I think it was called The Dome or something like that. And everybody was just in this thing. What other kind of movies does this kind of remind you guys of? Let's have a conversation in the comment section because this reminds me of something that we've seen before, right?
All dependent upon Elon Musk. Doesn't sound too good, does it?
I am begging you to understand that rich and successful people in general do not themselves know why they are successful. And if you want evidence, all you have to do is listen to them. Elon Musk does not know why some of his ideas work out and some of them don't. Now, they will never admit this. If you ask anybody like this, well, how did you grow your company? Their rules for success and all of their tips will be a combination of things that are common sense. Like they'll say something like, find a team of talented people and surround yourself with them and give them the freedom to make decisions. But then in the next breath, they'll start saying things like, I get up at 4 a.m. every day. I'm in bed by 8 p.m. every night. Every morning, I take an ice cold shower and then I meditate and then I brainstorm ideas. And if you point out that those same habits and processes gave them their failures as well as their successes, they will suddenly have a million excuses why the one thing went wrong and the other ones didn't.
True.
And I swear, if you listen to them long enough, any of them, you will eventually realize they don't know. And I'm going to give you a great example of this. Even if you're not a sports fan, if you go read profiles of any superstar champion athlete, what you find out is that they are all superstitious. Serena Williams wears the same pair of socks through a tournament. Those are her lucky socks. The legendary baseball player named Wade Boggs, who used to eat chicken before every game. Patrick Mahomes, one of the best to ever do it, will not take the field without wearing his lucky pair of shorts, because he fears that if he doesn't, when he throws the ball, instead of landing perfectly in the receiver's hands, it will be 6 inches to the left or to the right and miss. Because he doesn't know how he's able to get the ball exactly in that spot every time. Just as Steve Jobs did not know why some of his product launches worked and some didn't. It all seems like magic.
Interesting.
And some of you are going to say, that is ridiculous. Serena Williams has been practicing tennis every day since she was a baby. She carefully watches her diet. She's probably never had a bite of junk food in her life, but do you understand? The same thing is true for all of her competitors. And all of these people, all successful people, can see with their own eyes that other people who follow the same habits do not have the same outcome. He goes to work every day in a facility with other guys who play his position, who are taught by the same coaches in the same system, using the same equipment, watching the same film.
Right.
They can lift more weights than he can. They are faster than he is. But some of those guys 2 years from now will be working as accountants, and he will retire a billionaire. Because when those guys throw the ball, it comes out a quarter of a second too late, and it's a few inches off to the right every time, and that's the difference between success and failure, and he has no idea why he can do it and they can't. I like using sports as an analogy because it makes it so plain. Take someone like Tom Brady, who has made his habits and exercise and diet into a lifestyle. He sells it as a brand. And why not, you say? He literally has more championship rings than anyone. But, for example, in one of his Super Bowls, the game-winning play was made by the defense. He wasn't even on the field. The only reason he ever got onto the field in the first place as a rookie is because the guy ahead of him got injured. There's a chance that none of his career happens if that injury doesn't occur. And I can guarantee you can say the same thing for every one of these guys. Generally, in every successful person's life, there are 3 elements: talent, hard work, and luck. The luck usually comes in the form of meeting the right person, the right partner who's able to help you succeed. But none of them can tell you what their lives would have looked like if they hadn't happened to have met that person, or if they had been born in a different country, or if they'd been born 10 years earlier or 10 years later than they were. Right. They don't know why some of their ideas are good and some of them are bad, because from the inside of their brain, they all seem good. So please remember, when you're trying to learn from people like this, that when they give you tips, that some of it probably will work for you, but a lot of it is just their equivalent of lucky socks.
Very interesting, isn't it?
This is my first time at Davos, and I find it quite a bewildering experience, to be honest. I mean, 1,500 private jets have flown in here to hear Sir David Attenborough speak about, how we're wrecking the planet. And I mean, I hear people talk in the language of participation and justice and equality and transparency. But then, I mean, almost no one raises the real issue of tax avoidance, right? And of the rich just not paying their fair share. I mean, it feels like I'm at a firefighters conference and no one's allowed to speak about water, right? there was only one panel, actually.
Well, we've had two. You're the second of our panelists.
There was only one panel.
Let's go there.
One panel hidden away in the media center that was actually about tax avoidance. Yeah. I was one of the 15 participants. So something needs to change here. I mean, 10 years ago, the World Economic Forum asked the question, what must industry do to prevent a broad social backlash? The answer is very simple. Just stop talking about philanthropy and start talking about taxes. Taxes. We need to, I mean, just 2 days ago, there was a billionaire in here, what's his name? Michael Dell. And he asked the question like, name me one country where a top marginal tax rate of 70% has actually worked. And, you know, I'm a historian. The United States, that's where it has actually worked. In the 1950s, during Republican President Eisenhower, you know, the war veteran, the top marginal tax rate in the US was 91% for people like Michael Dell. You know, the top estate tax for people like Michael Dell was more than 70%. I mean, this is not rocket science. I mean, we can talk for a very long time about all these stupid philanthropy schemes. We can invite Bono once more, but come on, we got to be talking about taxes. Yeah, exactly. That's it. Taxes, taxes, taxes. All the rest is bullshit, in my opinion.
We have a tax system that leaks so much that allows $170 billion of money every year to be taken to tax havens and to be denied the developing countries that need that money most. So we have to look at the business model, and we have to look at the role of governments to tax and plow back money into people's lives.
I have to say, honestly, this is a very one-sided panel. The U.S. basically has the lowest unemployment rate ever, the lowest black unemployment rate ever, the lowest youth unemployment ever. We've actually reduced poverty around the world. No one's talking about that at all. So I'd like for the panel to talk about beyond taxes, which every one of you have talked about. The only thing you've talked about in this whole panel on inequality, what can we really do to help solve inequality over time beyond taxes?
The gentleman who said we've just talked taxes and that jobs are there and there's low and unemployment rates are low. Let me tell you something. We're talking about jobs, but the quality of those jobs. And we also work with poultry workers in the richest country in the world, the United States. Poultry workers. These are women who are cutting the chickens and packing them, and we buy them in the supermarkets. Dolores, one woman we work with there, told us that she and her co-workers have to wear diapers to work because they are not allowed toilet breaks. This is in the richest country in the world. That's not a dignified job. Those are the jobs we are being told about, that globalization is bringing jobs. The quality of the jobs matter. It matters. These are not jobs of dignity. In many countries, workers no longer have a voice. They are not allowed to unionize. They are not allowed to negotiate for salaries. So we're talking about jobs, but jobs that bring dignity. We are talking about healthcare. The World Bank has told us that 3.4 billion people who earn $5.5 a day are on the verge, are just a medical bill away from sinking into poverty. They don't have health care. They are just a crop failure away from sinking back into poverty. They have no crop insurance. So don't tell me about low levels of unemployment. You are counting the wrong things. You're not counting dignity of people. You're counting exploited people.
I want to...
Hello, everybody. As I am sure you have heard, there is a lot that's going on here in Washington, D.C. So let me say a few words and try to explain it. Bottom line, after all is said and done, is that after months of negotiations, Senate Democrats and House Republicans reached an agreement called a continuing resolution, which would continue to fund the government for 3 months. Frankly, that agreement was not something that I was all that excited about, but it was better than nothing. And I was prepared and am prepared to vote for it. And one of the reasons is that it contained a reasonable increase in funding for primary health care, something that I feel very strongly about and that my committee, the Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee, is responsible for.
Okay.
And given the enormous crises that we're facing in health care in this country today, it really would be of help to many millions of Americans. Yeah. What this legislation would do is significantly, or modestly at least, increase funding for community health centers all over this country, which treat about 30 million Americans who are low income or working class. And it would also increase the number of young doctors who go out into rural America and also into underserved areas. That is where we need the doctors and the nurses, and that's what this legislation would do. Okay. In any case, within the House of Representatives, the Republican House, and the Democratic Senate, there was widespread agreement on this resolution, and it was just about ready to be passed. In fact, the Republicans posted it on their website. We were ready to go. But then, out of nowhere, the wealthiest man in the world, Elon Musk, began tweeting his opposition to this legislation. In fact, he was very blunt about it. He told Republicans that if they voted for this proposal, which they had already agreed to do, he would take out his wallet and spend as much money as it took to defeat them in primaries and drive them out of office.
And wouldn't that be considered lobbying? I'm just trying to understand and overstand. Y'all let me know in the comment section. I mean, wouldn't that be considered a form of lobbying? You know what I'm saying? Let's continue. That's just very interesting.
Got that?
Got it.
Take a deep breath and appreciate what's going on here.
Okay.
The wealthiest person in the world, who spent at least $277 million to elect Donald Trump in a Republican Congress, has now claimed complete ownership of that party.
That's what I thought.
And what you're saying is, hey, Republicans, forget your constituents, forget your constitutional responsibilities. If you don't do what I, Elon Musk, want you to do, you're out of office. And I have the money to do just that.
Ready talk?
My friends, what we are looking at here has nothing to do with democracy. What we are looking at here is oligarchy. This is up and up. Government by the billionaire class for the billionaire class. And by the way, Musk is not only trying to intimidate Republicans, he is trying to inject himself into the Democratic Party as well.
Wow.
He is threatening to target Democrats who are standing up to him and his agenda. Further, and very dangerously, and this is the guy you know who owns Twitter, as part of his campaign to defeat this resolution, Musk has been spreading an enormous amount of disinformation and outright lies about what is in the bill.
Interesting.
He said that the measure would include a 40% pay raise for Congress. That's a lie. It is a 3.9% increase, the same as federal employees are receiving. He said that this legislation would fund bioweapons labs. Not true. In fact, it provides funds to protect Americans from emerging infectious diseases.
Cool.
He said that the country would be just fine if the government shut down. Really? Here's what happens if Mr. Musk gets his way and the deal implodes. Funding for kids' cancer research gets cut.
Okay.
At a time when we are already paying the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, pharmaceutical middlemen will be able to continue to overcharge you for your prescriptions. Americans recovering from devastating floods, fires, and hurricanes, often due to climate change, won't get the help that they need. That's what happens if the proposal goes down. And what happens if the government shuts down?
Wow.
Well, our troops won't get their paychecks. Nearly 7 million women and children who rely on WIC nutrition assistance could go hungry.
Wow.
And 2 million federal government workers, some of whom don't make a whole lot of money, won't be getting paid. Now let us be very clear. Elon Musk was not elected to be president of the United States. In fact, he was not elected to be dog catcher. And by the way, what all of this hoopla is really about, above and beyond everything I'm talking about, is that when Trump and Musk come into power in late January, do you know what their first order of business will be? You think it'll be to fix healthcare? You think it'll be deal with climate change? Deal with homelessness? Well, if you thought that, you're dead wrong. Their first order of business will be to provide massive tax breaks for the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations. So think about it.
Yeah.
At a time of unprecedented income and wealth inequality, when Musk himself is worth almost $500 billion. What these guys want to do is give more tax breaks to billionaires and the heads of large corporations.
Crazy.
So where do we go from here?
I don't know.
Let us understand the gravity of what we are dealing with. This is not politics as usual. This is not just Democrats versus Republicans, conservatives versus liberals or progressives. It's much deeper than that. What we are dealing with right now is that the billionaire class, which owns so much of our economy, which owns so much of our media, they are now moving aggressively to own our political system as well.
Wow.
So we got a lot of work in front of us. We've got to educate, we've got to organize, and we have got to stop them. Thank you very much. Have a great holiday season.
Wow. Bernie's telling us something.
Forms of government, oligarchy. Oligarchy is also a government by the wealthy few, like aristocracy, but oligarchs do not come from nobility like the aristocrats. Oligarchs believe that the most important requisites to claim power are wealth, good social possession, and education. If these requisites be made the basis for the exercise of governmental powers, it is unlikely that oligarchy could serve the best interests of the masses. Tendencies are: number one, they will use the government to protect and promote more of their wealth to the extent of resorting to brutality and aggressiveness. Number two, these oligarchs will build economic empires for themselves and their families. That is why oligarchy is a type of government. Oligarchs are also the enemies of the poor. They don't have qualms for charity to the poor. That is why the poor have the reason to rebel against the oligarchic government that tries to entrench itself in power.
So I made a video a couple weeks ago about oligarchy. You've heard of democracy, you've heard of a monarchy, a tyranny. And in oligarchy, the idea is that a small number of rich people rule over everybody else. And the criteria for why they rule, why they have the authority to rule over everybody is just that they're wealthier than everyone else. And it was while I was already editing that video that the story about Bezos preventing the Washington Post from publishing its endorsement of Kamala Harris, that story came out. And of course, since then, Elon has succeeded in helping Donald Trump get elected. And immediately after Trump was elected, both Mark Zuckerberg and Bezos were practically tripping over themselves to celebrate and congratulate Donald Trump on his victory, applauding how decisive it was and so on. So all of this is just to say that we are living in an especially oligarchical, there's a $10 word, a very oligarchical moment. We are living in an oligarchical moment where the rich, the super wealthy, are very publicly and very openly invested and motivated to participate in governing us. Now, the potential problem here is that someone who has billions of dollars just does not have the same set of concerns or problems that you do. They do not worry about the same things you worry about. They do not have the same priorities or goals that you do. I think it is simply the case that it is impossible that your interests align with the interests of the billionaire class. I talk about this more in the long form video. I'll put a link in the description, but I think we ought to think about if if billionaires are really interested in getting a certain person elected, if they're interested in a certain piece of legislation or a policy, or they want to deregulate some industry, we might want to give that some thought. Is it the case that they're doing that because it's good for everybody, or because it's good for them?
Yeah.
And I think in your heart of hearts, you know the answer to that question.
If you look at the 52 richest people in the world, most of whom are Americans, not all Americans, but most of whom are U.S. citizens, the 62 richest people together have more wealth than the bottom half of the population of this planet, roughly 3.5 billion people.
Wow.
That's beyond obscene. I don't know. I don't have an adjective that captures this, but I can describe what it means. If you look at all the statistics of the World Health Organizations, the bottom half of our population are people who die way earlier than they need to. Why? Because their diets are no good, or they don't have enough food in the first place, or they can't get to a clinic to have little problems that are easily solved by modern medical methods taken care of. It's unspeakable what happens to the lower half.
Yeah.
If we took half the wealth of the richest, and they would still be the richest, and made it available to the bottom half, it would transform their lives, literally. Now, there's no moral or ethical justification for this situation.
Can I call you Steve?
Yes.
If you said no, you will never leave the country.
That's hilarious. Okay, what's the best thing to own if you're super rich? Do you have a yacht?
Just a piece of advice for you,
Yes.
Steve.
Yeah.
Don't be attached to things. Be free.
Okay, but you do have a yacht, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
But I don't know where the heck it is.
You don't know where your yacht is?
No.
This is why we can't have nice things. Do you have a sports team?
Only Brooklyn Nets.
More like the Brooklyn Nets, right?
No.
Up top, don't leave me hanging. Come on. Now you're single. What's a nice, successful, handsome guy like you doing single? There's got to be a lot of people out there who'd like to marry an oligarch.
That's true.
Okay. So have you just not found the right girl? And 19 of her friends?
I think it's not easy.
What exactly is a Russian oligarch, and why are their luxury belongings being taken away from them? Well, they're not just billionaires, they also hold a huge amount of political influence. Many built their wealth from taking over state-owned industries, like oil and gas in the 90s after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Russian oligarchs have close relationships with Putin and have been accused of providing resources to support the invasion. The US, UK, EU, Japan and other countries are introducing economic sanctions on them. The aim is to weaken their individual wealth and to put pressure on Putin to end the war. So what does that look like in reality? France says it's captured a yacht linked to Igor Sechin, the head of a large Russian oil company. He's said to be one of Putin's closest advisors and was even once called Darth Vader. Italian police say they've seized a villa in Sardinia owned by Alisher Usmanov, one of the richest Russian oligarchs. He owns many major businesses, including Russia's second largest mobile network. Some oligarchs are now calling for an end to the invasion, so that's why you need to know.
Have you ever wondered how the Russian billionaires are doing following the invasion of Ukraine? Well, the truth is not what you'd expect. You see, the oligarchs haven't lost any of their net worth at all. In fact, it's been quite the contrary. Russia's richest billionaires added $152 billion to their net worth in the past year alone, and this is just the start. According to Forbes, Russia now has 110 official billionaires in the list, up from 22 last year, and now Russia is getting prepared to dominate the global economy. With massive expansions in the Arctic regions to harvest oil and other natural resources, Russia will soon be an economic juggernaut.
You know, it is kind of funny. When politicians and the media talk about Russia and Vladimir Putin, they often use the word oligarchy.
Now I gotta just know. Sorry to pause it on, but I gotta sorry, I'm all over the again. The more I look at this, I'm thinking to myself, so oligarchies are only just Russians? Like, are there not any other cultures that have an oligarchy? Let's have a conversation about that in the comment section, because I also know some Russians. Not all Russians are massively rich. Like some Russians have, they came after a crazy, like, was it the Soviet war or something like this? And then they built themselves up. I mean, I think a lot of them must have built themselves up probably because of that war. But I'm just saying, not all are running things like this. But it has me thinking, like, are there other oligarchies? Like, does India have an oligarchy? Parts of Africa, is there an oligarchy? Would you call it that? Let's continue. This is so fascinating. Let's have a conversation.
They talk about how the oligarchs of Russia have enormous power under Putin. But strangely enough, the term oligarchy is very rarely used to describe what's happening in the United States, or in fact, what's happening around the world. But guess what? Oligarchy is a global phenomenon, and it is headquartered right here in the United States. The fact of the matter is, and we don't talk about it very much, but this is the reality, a small number of incredibly wealthy billionaires own and control much of the global economy, period. End of discussion.
Period.
And increasingly, they own and control our government through a corrupt campaign finance system. Since 2020, 5 billion people all over the world have become poorer, while the world's 5 richest billionaires have more than doubled their fortunes at a rate of $14 million per hour.
Wow.
And listen to this. Elon Musk, the world's wealthiest man, has added 120 billion to his fortune just since election day. Got that? 120 billion since election day. While Jeff Bezos, number 2 guy, he only became $67 billion richer in the last month. And Mark Zuckerberg, he became 90 billion richer this year alone. In other words, the people on top who are already phenomenally rich are becoming incredibly richer.
Wow.
Over the past decade, the wealthiest 1% of the global population amassed $42 trillion in new wealth, while the wealth of the bottom half of society barely budged. In fact, as of today, the top 1% owns more wealth than 95% of the people on this earth. Outrageously, the wealthiest people in the world are stashing up to 32 trillion in offshore tax havens like the Cayman Islands in order to avoid paying their fair share of taxes to governments all over the world.
Again.
In other words, governments are underfunded, and these people stash trillions in tax havens. Meanwhile, the uber rich do spend money to protect their incredible wealth.
Right.
They do it by buying influence, and increasingly by buying our elections. Billionaires in the United States are 0.0005% of the population. That ain't a lot of people.
No.
Yet they accounted for 18% of 2024 electoral spending. Tiny number of people spending huge amounts of money to buy elections. Just 150 billionaire families spent nearly $2 billion to buy our recent elections. Elon Musk alone spent at least $277 million to back Donald Trump. How's that? One guy, $277 million. And we saw the results of that investment working pretty good for him. The major defense contractors spent over $38 million this election cycle. And you know what? They're going to have $1 trillion military budget with enormous amounts of waste and fraud in it. And AIPAC, a billionaire-funded super PAC, spent over $100 million to defeat members of Congress who are critical of the extremist right-wing Netanyahu government in Israel and the horrific war they are waging in Gaza. My friends, You don't have to be a PhD in political science to understand that this is not democracy.
Okay.
This is not one person, one vote. This is not all of us coming together to decide our future. This is oligarchy. In my view, this issue of oligarchy is the most important issue facing our country and the world, because it touches on everything else. It touches on climate change, touches on healthcare, touches on whether or not working people are going to have a decent standard of living, touches on whether or not we can eliminate poverty. And what we are going to be doing now is, over the coming months, we are going to be doing a number of programs exploring how global oligarchy functions, the power that the very, very rich have over our economy and over our political life. We're going to be talking about the tax havens they use and how they avoid paying their fair share of taxes.
Right.
And we will be talking about the kind of role that the oligarchs will play in the coming Trump administration. We're going to bring forth some of the really smartest people in this country and around the world who know about this issue. So it's important stuff, and I hope you will follow along. Take care. Bye-bye.
Definitely. You know, the funny thing about it is, I'm thinking about it because I am not American. I am Canadian here. But the funny thing about Canada is that we pay, at least in Ontario, when it comes to our healthcare called OHIP, we pay a lot of taxes. Hence the reason why they consider it to be, it feels like it's free healthcare, but it's not, because we obviously pay into it. The only gag is not all of it is the greatest healthcare that we receive. It's pretty interesting to me when I have conversations with other people who travel down to the States and then they end up having to use the United States healthcare. And they always say to me, it's so much better. Yeah, we had to prepare to pay for the $250,000 bill, but how we were treated when we were there was amazing. Now, I beg to differ because he is not Black. Okay. And I'm gonna keep it a thou wow, because I can't really say that all African Americans or even Africans, whoever, if you guys are living in the United States, that you do deserve the best treatment. Everybody deserves amazing treatment. Fuck that shit. Everybody deserves top-notch treatment, healthcare treatment. However, people are not always given that when they're there. But this just kind of had me thinking about what the difference is between ourselves up here in Canada and how we still struggle with healthcare, regardless. Yes, we don't really pay for it, but man, that's probably going to change next year, the way how things are going, because if it's Olivier who ends up becoming our PM, that whole thing of private healthcare will be really becoming a real thing up here. Anyway, I digress. Let's continue, man.
You graduated from Harvard,
right?
Then Stanford,
right?
Then Yale.
That's it.
Was this the economy you were taught at those three elite institutions to celebrate?
No, this is the economy that I came to understand is the reality. For me, and I learned things at all those institutions, it's not that. I came to understand that in America, economics is a split, almost a schizophrenic kind of pursuit. And let me explain. On the one hand, there are the departments of economics in colleges and universities across America. But side by side with them is an entire other establishment that also teaches economics. You don't have that in other disciplines. There aren't two history departments or two anthropology departments or two philosophy. So what is this? I looked into this. It's because there are two separate functions performed by the economics departments and then by the other ones. And the other ones are called business schools and business departments. In fact, in most universities, in all those I've been at, the economics department is in one set of buildings, and across the campus in another is the business school. And there's actually tension in the university about who teaches the basic courses to students that they're required to take and so on. Here's what I discovered. The job of economics, to be blunt but honest, is to rationalize, justify, and celebrate the system. To develop abstract theories of how economics works, to make it all look like it's a stable equilibrium that meets people's needs in an optimal way. These kinds of words are used. But that's useless to people who want to learn how to run a business because it's a fantasy. So they are shunted someplace else. If you want to learn about marketing or promotion or advertising or administration or personnel, go over there. Those people teach you how the economy actually works and how you'll have to make decisions if you're going to run a business. Over there, you learn about how beautiful it all is when you think abstractly about its basic principles.
The invisible hand, the
Yes,
market.
all of that. So for me, I began to realize, okay, I'm an economist, I'm in that one, but I want to understand how the real economy works. And then I discovered that I needed to re-educate myself. I had to go learn things that I was never assigned to read.
Never assigned to read. Guys, that is the video. I had to put that last part in there because I was like, okay, I've learned a lot, and now I gotta go into economics, baby. I gotta know. I gotta know. I cannot be left behind. Neither can you. You should not be left behind, is all I am saying. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed that video. I've learned, trust me, I've learned a lot, and I'm going to continue to keep learning a lot. And like I said before, as we were kind of like going through it, I was like, wait a minute, ain't there the kind of oligarchs out there that just cannot only be Russian oligarchs? I know that's probably where I guess it started, but it's got to go even more deeper in different cultures than just what we know it to be. However, America, Canada, the West, every part, it's all an oligarchy. It's all an oligarchy. And everybody's a lobbyist in a way. I hate to say it because I swear to goodness, that definitely kind of low-key sounds like Elon was doing a lot of lobbying up in that bitch. All right. And now the situation is kind of becoming a little funky, baby. And I'm going to let you guys know when I come back with another reaction video. Other than that, that's all I got to motherfucking say. That's all I have to say for this video. I'll catch you guys in the next video, and let's have a conversation about this shit in the comment section. And stay safe, and that's all I have to say. Bye, y'all.